Hey cats, what's happening? Good morning. It's wet out there. It rained all day yesterday, and there's puddles in the yard. My yard is like mush to walk out there. So, yeah, without my muck boots on, there's little I can do in the yard. I do have some firewood to haul up to the house today, though, and I need to get busy on that. But I thought I'd take a minute or two to chit chat with you guys. Ever been to a bachelor party? If you're like me, you've probably been to a few. I know I have. Uh, Probably can count on one hand the bachelor parties that I've been to. Perhaps if you're a woman, you've been to a bachelorette party. I can honestly say that the bachelor parties that I've been to have been pretty harmless. Uh, in my career with the metro parks, I had worked with probably hundreds of people. And a lot of those were young people, younger kids. And of course, they end up having a relationship, getting married, and then they host a bachelor party. So, when you work with these guys, you build a camaraderie, and so it's like only decent for you to go ahead and attend their gathering, sending them off into a wonderful marriage. I had a bachelor party when on my first marriage, and it was it was extremely harmless. G rated, I guess, PG rated. We had a corn roast over at my buddy's house. So he lived in kind of a rural area, and we set up a big grill in his yard, and we roasted corn and burgers and hot dogs. And of course, there was coolers full of beer and beverages. So everybody had a good time, just partying and passing the joint around the campfire. He had a pretty nice big bonfire there, and it was a nice evening. Now, sometime during the evening, my fiance had showed up with her friend, and totally uninvited. And it was like, somebody said, "Hey, look who's here." And the car had pulled up along the road. They didn't come in the driveway or anything, and they didn't actually get out of the car, but it was pretty obvious. They were uh, nosy and wanted to know what was going on. And I think for the most part, the guys were like, "Get out of here! This isn't for women." Although we had no women there, it was just all guys. There wasn't any strippers or anything like that at my bachelor party. But the thing that kind of stuck with me was the mistrust that my fiance had in me. What did she think she was going to see? I mean, she didn't trust me enough to think that I couldn't go to a party without being loyal to her. I don't know. I didn't quite understand that, and it kind of annoyed me that she would show up at that with that lack of trust. Uh, as time went on, though, over the years, like I said, I went to some other bachelor parties. Most of them were pretty harmless. Of course, a few of them had the hired strippers that would come in, and I think that's pretty common with most bachelor parties. Not all of them, but some of them they do have a stripper there. And it's basically just a woman dancing around in a bikini, maybe showing her breast or something like that. But I'd say fairly harmless. No sexual encounters or anything like that. No groping or grabbing. Most of those strippers that are whatever you call them that come to bachelor parties are pretty professional, and they have a code of conduct, I guess, that they'll quickly snuff out anybody that's trying to get a little aggressive, let's say. I went to a guy that I worked with for many years. He was the carpenter for the parks, and he was really good at what he did. He's kind of an artist too. He created some very unique and interesting sculptures from wood, and one of a kind things. And he was a very talented man. And him and I were really good friends, and he invited me to his bachelor party. It was at a big hall. It was like in an old barn, and the whole uh, it was like a big party center, I guess. So there was all kinds of tables lined up there, and we all took a place at the table. There was food and there were drinks, and there was a DJ there playing music. And later in the evening, of course, the female stripper came in, and the bachelor sat down at the far end at a table with his best man and his groomsmen or whatever. And she was up on that table dancing around in a bikini, not totally naked. And it was just all fun. And where I was sitting, I was quite a distance away, but that's fine with me. Those kind of things are kind of, I guess, I don't know how to explain it, kind of cheesy to me. I mean, there's some amusement to it. Yeah, you get a few chuckles and smiles, and somebody always has the smart aleck comments to throw out that are kind of funny too. Uh, so it was a good time. But again, at one point during that evening, one of the guys came up and said, "Hey, your wife's here." I was like, "What? No way." And they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah." Well, I get up and I walk over to the entryway, the foyer, and there's my wife standing outside the door. And again, I said, "What are you doing here? What is this?" And she's peering through the door and she sees the woman at the other end of the hall dancing up on the table, and right away she's sorely offended that I would attend such an event. Um, Again, a total lack of mistrust, and on my part, I would never cheat on my wife. I would never want to do anything like that would compromise my marriage, and I never did throughout my whole marriage. Now, I will say that the women were always attracted to me, and I was somewhat of a flirt. I didn't mind the attention, but it only went so far. I never took it to that other level that was, inappropriate for marriage. So I was always faithful, but I was really offended that she would show up at this bachelor party and show her total lack of mistrust for me. How did she get there? How did she even know where it was? This is the interesting part of the story. There was this fella, and I've talked about him before, that we worked with. He was a squirrely little runt. Nobody liked him. He was a brown noser, a snitch. He was a smart ass. He was always causing trouble, and he had not been invited to the bachelor party. He was not friends with the guy who was the groom. So somehow he had gone and found my wife and brought her purposely to that bachelor party, and was out in the parking lot laughing his ass off, thinking that was just hilarious. Well, when I found that out, I went out in the parking lot and chased him down and clocked him a good one. I mean, that just, oh, that just burned up my, oh. I couldn't believe that he would have the gall to do that. And of course, all the other guys, they were pretty upset about it too. They said, that's just really sad. That's just really, really bad news. So yeah, there was that, and then of course the aftermath of that. I had to hear an earful about why was I at this bachelor party where this woman was dancing half naked on a table. That's usually the fare for a bachelor party. Well, like I said, other bachelor parties that I went to were really no different. There was never anything really any X-rated or anything of that nature. The groom might have gotten a lap dance from the dancer, but that's protocol for those dancers. That's what they do. That's what they're paid to do. Uh, and then when they're all done with their routine, they grab their bag and they're out the door. And in most cases, there's a chaperone with them, like the bodyguard that comes in and just kind of watches over, make sure that she doesn't get molested or anything like that. And the group of guys that I was with wouldn't do anything like that either. But I suppose a woman could, a stripper could go to a bachelor party and might be a scrupulous group of guys that might try to take advantage of her. So in most cases, they do, come with a bodyguard. If he's not there in the room, he's right outside the door or somewhere where he's close by, where he can keep an eye on things. Anyway, I haven't been to one of those bachelor parties in a long time, many many years, probably at least 25, maybe even 30 years since I've been to a bachelor party. Don't ever intend to go to another one either. Uh, at my age, I don't have many friends anymore that are getting married that would have a bachelor party. That's usually for the younger crowd. But anyway, I just was remembering that incident and thinking about you know how important trust is in a relationship. Val and I had absolute trust in each other. I mean, she knew that I was loyal to her, and I knew she was loyal to me, regardless of our past and where we had been and the things that we had done prior to her and I meeting each other. Um, we vowed to, we took the wedding vows, and we vowed to be loyal and to trust each other. And that means so much, when you don't have to worry. In my first marriage, there was a total lack of trust all the time. And I think it didn't matter what I did, there was always some kind of a mistrust there that I was up to no good, which I never really was. I stayed out of trouble for the most part. Uh, but still, that lack of trust was there that made a real strain on the relationship. And then as that relationship or that marriage came towards an end, there was infidelity and a real lack of trust began to build because there was just a lot of lies going around and accusations and things that weren't true and some things that were true but were being hidden, and it was just a shame, and that just boiled over into a terrible, terrible situation. Uh, but as I look back in hindsight, I think, okay, there's probably some things I could have done to build better trust with my wife. Uh, like I said, though, Val and I from the beginning, we had a total trust in each other. We basically became one. We knew what each other was doing. We knew what we were thinking. We knew where we were going, what we were doing, and there was never any doubt that we were faithful and loyal to each other. And that's the way it should be, you know. That's the way it should be. Oh well. Anyway, these things, these memories come into my mind, and I kind of dwell on them for a little while, and so I thought, okay, well, I'll share that one with you, and hopefully it gives you some food for thought if you're going through the same kind of situation. Uh, when it's too late when you have to look back in hindsight, when you have to look in the rearview mirror and say, oh boy, there's some things I could have done that would have made a much better relationship that I didn't do. And of course, it takes two people to tango. You can't blame one or the other. Both are at fault for, letting things go out of control. And in some cases, people are wise enough to turn around and say, okay, whoa, let's back up for a minute and take a close look at this, maybe get some counseling if needed, and try to get ourselves back on track again. Where other people are just totally disregard any healing of the I'm done, I'm leaving, I'm not putting up with this anymore. And sadly, that happens. And unfortunately, when it does happen, if you have a family like I did, I have a son and a daughter, and they both had to be part of that, along with our parents, her parents and my parents. The divorce just really splits the family in half, and it's an awful thing. It affects everyone. It's not only the hurt between the two, but it extends out into the family as well. Uh, I was good friends with my ex-wife's whole family, and when that divorce split us, that was the end of that relationship with those people. Uh, there just wasn't any more. I don't know, love there, or it was just like voodoo to communicate with them. Like the cord was severed. Shook. And again, her cord was severed with any relationship with my family. As sad as that is, uh, it's just a rough, tough situation. I still have a lot of regrets. Like I said, things I could have done to make my first marriage better. But I don't ever regret anything that I ever had with Val. Her and I had been through a lot. We had both experienced previous marriages that failed, and the last thing we wanted was for our marriage to fail. And we worked really hard at it to keep it top of the line. We polished it. We respected each other. We cared for each other. We compromised. I gave up things for her. She gave up things for me, and it just blossomed into a wonderful, wonderful, loving relationship that I will never regret, and I'll never forget her. So again, moving on into this next chapter in life, and I'm doing pretty good so far. So thanks for your support. Thanks for your prayers. Continue to pray for you guys too. I see some of you have spouses that are ailing, that are sick, that are in some very serious conditions, cancer, the COVID, in the hospital. Praying for you guys. I know how hard that is. It's hard seeing your partner suffer, and in a lot of cases, I see healing. So I praise God for that, and I'm thankful that people are improving, that are getting better. I can still continue my prayers for all of you, regardless. And for those of you that are struggling through marital situations, through relationships that are troubled, I'll keep you guys in my prayers too. I know how hard that is, how stressful that is. Those of you that are having problems with your job, that can cause a lot of stress on things. I'll keep praying for all of you, and thanks for your support too. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm going to head outside here, put my muck boots on. And last week I cut up some firewood, but it's all laying down in the woods in the wet atmosphere out there. So I got to carry that out of the woods, load it up on my truck, bring it up to the house, and stack it up on the front porch so I can make it through the rest of the winter comfortably. Burning wood in my wood burner to heat the place, and it stays pretty cozy in here. Alright, well, if you liked the video, give me that thumbs up. That helps boost my ratings up in the YouTube world. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel and stay tuned. Till next time, cats, ride hard and die free.